Falcons fans, wake up. Something just happened in Atlanta that could flip this entire NFL season on its head. No, the national media isn't talking about it. They're too busy drooling over the same five favorite teams they always hype. But deep in Flowery Branch, our front office just made two moves so smart, so ruthless, so game-changing, that in a few months, the rest of the league will be asking, how did we miss this? Picture this. It's a quiet Saturday morning. The football world is sleeping on the Falcons again, treating us like background noise while they run the same highlight reels of the Chiefs, the 49ers, the Cowboys. Nobody is watching Atlanta. Nobody is paying attention. But while they're distracted, General Manager Terry Fontenot is playing chess while the rest of the NFL is playing checkers. He just made two signings that casual fans might scroll right past. But if you truly understand what it takes to build a championship team, these moves should have you on the edge of your seat. I'm telling you right now, I've lived and breathed this team for years. This weekend will be remembered as a turning point. This is the moment we'll look back on and say, that's when everything changed. The crazy part? Nobody's talking about it the way they should. National media treats them like footnotes, like those tiny transactions you see scrolling at the bottom of the screen. But these aren't just signings. These are statements. These are the kind of roster decisions that decide whether you're home in January or holding a Lombardi trophy. And before we break them down, let's be real, championships aren't just won with star quarterbacks or wide receivers making circus catches. That stuff sells jerseys, but it doesn't always win playoff games. The truth is, when it's December, when every play could be your last, it's depth, it's versatility, it's special teams. The unglamorous jobs that never make highlight reels, but win championships. Look at history. The Eagles didn't win their Super Bowl just because of Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. They won because their backup stepped up when the lights were brightest. The Giants didn't beat an undefeated Patriots team just because of Eli Manning. They had guys the world barely knew making the plays of their lives. Atlanta just made the kind of moves that give you those guys. And the rest of the NFL has no idea what's coming. Falcons fans, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in this roster after these under-the-radar signings? Drop your score in the comments, and let's prove the Dirty Bird family is wide awake. That's the thing people forget. Champions aren't built on just stars. They're built on role players who make championship plays. And that's exactly the kind of foundation being laid in Atlanta right now. While other teams are busy chasing headlines with overpriced free agents and flashy big-name signings, the Falcons are sticking to the blueprint that works. We're building this thing the right way, from the trenches out. We're creating competition at every position, making sure nobody feels safe, nobody gets comfortable. And we're bringing in guys who know that football is won in the margins, in the tiny moments, the split-second decisions, the hustle plays when nobody's watching and the cameras aren't rolling. Right now, training camp is in full gear. The air is thick with competition. We've got joint practices with the Tennessee Titans coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday, then a preseason game on Friday. This is crunch time, the moment when coaches start figuring out who they can trust, when the roster begins to take shape, when the real dogs separate themselves from the pretenders. And what does Terry Fontenot do while the rest of the league is just standing around, waiting for September? He strikes. Two surgical signings, timed perfectly, that could flip the depth chart upside down. These aren't panic moves. They're not desperation signings to fill holes. These are deliberate, calculated additions that scream one message. We're not here to settle for a wild card. We're here to win the whole damn thing. So let's talk about the first piece of this championship puzzle, Jake Hansen. Now, I know some of you just said, who? And that's exactly why you need to hear me out. This signing flew under the radar, just another line on a transaction report for most fans. But if you really understood what this means, you'd be ready to run through a wall right now. Jake Hansen isn't just some random free agent. This man is a 4-year starter at the University of Oregon, one of the toughest programs in the country. Do you know what kind of intelligence, toughness, and leadership it takes to hold down a starting job for 4 years in a major college program? That's no accident, that's proof of talent and durability. He anchored an offensive line that sent player after player to the NFL. The Green Bay Packers, one of the most respected scouting teams in football, saw the same thing and drafted him in the sixth round in 2020. And if you know anything about the Packers organization, you know they don't waste draft picks on players who can't cut it. Falcons fans, is this the kind of under-the-radar signing that makes you believe this front office is building a real contender? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear if you think Jake Hansen is a hidden gem or just a depth piece. The Packers aren't the kind of team that just throws darts at the draft board and hopes for the best. They have one of the sharpest scouting departments in the entire NFL, and when they saw Jake Hansen at Oregon, they didn't hesitate. They said, "That's a guy we want in our building. That's a guy we want learning our system, living our culture, understanding exactly what it takes to be a pro." For 3 straight years, Hansen sat in that Green Bay offensive line room, not as a star, not as a headline maker, but as a sponge. He soaked in everything. He learned the Packers' zone blocking scheme inside and out. He watched how veteran linemen prepared week after week. He studied how a championship-caliber offensive line communicates, adjusts, and wins in the trenches. You can't buy that kind of education. You can't teach that level of experience in a single offseason. That's years of professional football knowledge stored up, ready to be unleashed. Then the New York Jets came calling. Robert Saleh and his staff looked at Hansen and said, "We need that Packers pedigree. We need that intelligence. We need that versatility." They brought him in, and last season he proved exactly why he belongs in this league, playing in 12 games, making 2 starts, logging 103 offensive snaps, and, just as importantly, 45 snaps on special teams. And here's why this matters for Atlanta. Jake Hansen can play center and guard. That's not just nice to have. In today's NFL, it's gold. When you've only got 53 roster spots, when injuries start piling up, when your starters need a breather late in a game, having a guy who can slide into multiple positions is like carrying an insurance policy that actually pays out when you need it most. Think about our offensive line right now. Chris Lindstrom is an absolute monster at guard. Drew Dalman is holding down center like a pro. But what happens if one of them gets dinged up in December with the playoffs on the line? With Hansen, you don't panic, you plug him in, and the machine keeps running. That's the difference between a good offensive line and a great one. The great units don't just have 5 starters, they've got 6, 7, 8 guys who can step in without missing a beat. And here's the part nobody's talking about. Hansen isn't some rookie trying to figure out the speed of the NFL. He's played in 30 games over 5 seasons. That's 30 times he's gone toe-to-toe with the best defensive lineman in the world. 30 times he's prepared like a pro, studied film like a pro, and executed under real pressure. This man is battle-tested. And now, he's a Falcon. Falcons fans, does Hansen's versatility make you feel more confident about our depth on the O-line? Drop your thoughts below, and let's talk about whether this could be one of Fontenot's smartest moves yet. And here's the part that so many people overlook. Those 45 special teams snaps Jake Hansen played last year? That's pure gold. You have no idea how many NFL games are decided by special teams. Deion Sanders used to say, "If you want to make this team, you better play special teams." And he was right. Smart coaches, the ones who win in January, know special teams is 1/3 of the game. It's where hidden yardage, momentum swings, and season-changing plays happen. Jake Hansen gets that. He's not too proud to run down the field on punt coverage. He's not above blocking on field goal protection. He's a professional who understands that every single snap matters, and that winning championships means being ready to contribute in any way your team needs. And now look at where we stand, 16 offensive linemen on the roster. 16. That's competition at its highest level. Nobody's job is safe. Everybody's fighting. And when you add a guy like Hansen, with his NFL experience, versatility, and special teams value, it forces every single player in that room to raise their game. It's the same thing at safety with Ronnie Harrison. You think our young defensive backs aren't going to take notice when a proven veteran walks into the building? They'll be watching him, asking questions, studying how he prepares, soaking up every ounce of knowledge. That's how you build real championship depth. This is bigger than 2024. This is about building something that lasts. These signings aren't just filling holes. They're part of a philosophy. While other teams gamble their future on one or two superstar names who might not even make it through the season, Atlanta is stacking the roster with battle-tested professionals. We're building a fortress. Every great NFL champion had these guys, the unsung heroes, the role players, the special teams warriors who make that one play in that one moment that decides everything. James White for the Patriots. Corey Clement for the Eagles. Names nobody was hyping in August, but everyone remembered in February. That's what we're building here. And when Ronnie Harrison makes that clutch tackle on kickoff coverage, when Jake Hansen steps in for an injured starter and doesn't miss a beat, when our young guys play smarter because of the vets around them, that is how championships are won. We're not just collecting talent. We're creating competition. We're not just filling a roster. We're constructing a machine. The national media can keep sleeping, keep chasing headlines about Dallas drama or Aaron Rodgers soundbites. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, we are quietly, methodically building a juggernaut. This is our year, Falcons Nation. And it's starting with the smart, calculated moves that separate champions from everyone else. Rise up, because the rest of the league has no idea what's coming. Falcons fans, do you think these depth signings are the hidden fuel for a Super Bowl run? Drop your take in the comments, and let's send a message that this fan base knows exactly what's being built in Atlanta.